Yeah, I mean, their hand styles as well, the London Giantz, wow. I mean, you had Flyboy, who became Harm. And wow, Flyboy was an incredible tape, but Harm was just the next level. And as for form, the first time I actually really saw a proper piece in full buntlack was I went down Covent Garden for the first time. I'll never forget. And I think it said Shock Shack, and it was just by the Chrome Angels. And that was it. You know, when it was just one of those moments where it changed your life. Sort of we're just sort of following them wherever they went, sort of thing, and hoping they'd drop a can of buntlack. And
they're like leftovers because you couldn't get hold of any buntlack because they'd wrecked it all.
Exactly, and he really did inspire me massively. I remember before I joined 7 Up, he said, "Let me have a look at your piece book," and I was just like, "Oh no." He's going to look at my piece book. I was nervous, you know. He was like, "What's he going to say?" I'm like, you know, what is he going to do? He's going to ruin me. And he said, "You know, you're really good, you know." He said, "Why don't you join 7 Up? They need someone like you." We ended up just being a small army, really. And God, we must have terrified shopkeepers. We were absolutely ruthless. You start on the buses and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I still don't think it's the amount of tagging on buses, how prolific it was. I don't think it's even to this day been as documented as I'd like it to be, because there were times you'd get on a bus and you couldn't even look out the window. You couldn't see out the window. It was ink. The whole the back window, both windows alongside it. And I love the respect what people would give, what other writers would give to each other as well. You'd have tag, and then you'd have a tag just inside, like the spaces. There was a lot of respect given. But yeah, it was just unbelievable. It's just I bet they didn't know what hit them. It's just like a Graff alphabet soup. It's just unbelievable.
Right, so lights, camera, action. On this week's show, we have an early 80s Graff writer who hammered many London buses back in the early days with his hand style of fire, and this rampant beast could not be tamed, who rapped for the prolific 7 Up crew and LYA Light Years Ahead crew. We have from South East London, the one and the only DVINE. Yes, I've got to do the old bop, 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 bop. All that stuff. Yeah. How you doing, my man?
I'm good. Yeah, good. Just putting up with this pandemic like the rest of us, but you know, I'm sure. I'm confident there's going to be a creative explosion coming out at the end of this. You know,
I think so.
Chomping at the bit and getting ready to just fly in. Yeah.
We're all geared up, ready to go.
Definitely.
But yeah, listen, I can't wait to talk to you. And we're going to basically take it back to the root, back to where it all started. So we're going to cover a lot of that early 80s Graff history, as well as the progression of how it's sort of ended up today. So, right, DVINE, you know how these my interviews always roll. I always start off with the first 2 questions is, whereabouts are you from and what was it like growing up, as a youngster?
Right. I was knocking about in Brixton in the 80s. I sort of grew up from, Cold Harbour Lane, Camberwell. Around the time sort of 86 and whatever, I was living with like a backdrop of the Brixton riots, a Thatcher's regime. It was pretty coarse in the 80s. I mean, yeah, it was really quite grim. I mean, we all look back on those times with really rose-tinted sort of glass. And it was fantastic. It was probably one of the most creative decades for any artist, musician, painter, whatever. But at the same time, you can't. Yeah, it was pretty grim. There was a lot of crime, and there wasn't any CCTV cameras out there protecting it and all the rest of it. Yeah, and people. It's funny. Along with graffiti was a massive craze which hit the streets and the kids were just all over it. But there was also that kids were robbing each other left, right, and centre. The amount of poster markers I had taken off me, and that kind of thing, and bags of paint. Yeah, it was rife. It was rife. You had to watch your back.
It was definitely a very, very different. I mean, it was a hard era. I mean, there wasn't much money around. My mum and dad, they had like two or three jobs to try and get by. But one thing about it all, even though it was a hard time, it was also a very, very enjoyable time because there was no social media. We wasn't stuck behind phones or behind laptops. We was out there, doing our thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there wasn't, like you say, if I want to see, I don't know, a bonsai piece, I'd go on my phone and I can check it. You had to make that pilgrimage. You had to go, oh, right, it's in blah, blah. I remember going to Westbourne Park, Ladbroke Grove, and seeing like Zachy D's, like the eyes he did on that column, or Mode 2's piece back. I remember getting there and just absolutely like, just, oh my God, it's, you know, it's much more of a different experience than actually seeing it on a little square thing on your phone, so to speak. And it was it was a different world. It's
a way different world. So you know, but basically, like how did you get into writing? Did you get through via like the hip hop scene, or
yeah, it was all about the hip hop, all about the old electro albums and all that. The first piece I did, do you remember a band called UTFO?
Of course I do. Yeah.
They sort of Roxanne Shante, didn't they? And I was always sort of battling with her. And I remember they did a piece
with
called
against the real Roxanne, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How we'd seen that, yeah.
Yum. And it just said yum because there was the intro to it. It just says this yum constant, and I loved it. So I did, like, my first piece said yum. So yeah, it was all about the electro and the hip hop.
Yeah, it was amazing time, and obviously, you know, it was early doors, so the scene was really kind of started quite small, didn't it? I mean, can you remember some of like the like the early wall writers and taggers from that era?
Yeah, I mean, my favourite ones were like, I mean, I'm going way back. There was Frenchie and Maniac. They were knocking about sort of in Brixton. Not many people, they wasn't about for long, but I remember being in awe of these guys, honestly. And then came obviously Artful Dodger. And he just changed the games. Like, for about a year, we was all trying to figure out how, is it a stencil? Is it? He surely didn't do it by freehand, you know. It's like that kind of thing. And Safi's Vandals was another big influence for me. Zone 1, who used to bomb with Shame.
Shame 181 and that. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to really talk about them guys in a minute. But kind of, Steve, kind of before that, you know, you also had, did you know about the Supreme team?
The Supreme team, where were they from?
They was from South East London as well. So they was around in 1985. So it was Artful Dodger, Plaz, Crash, Form, Jewski, Jap 302, and Cast.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Plaz. I remember going over loads of his tags because his tag touched my tag, and like silly boy, I just went over loads of his tags, and someone said, "Do you realise who Plaz is?" We was in Covent Gardens at the time. I said, "No, he's that guy over there," and he was like, especially an adult, like, he was a real big guy. Yeah. So I was tiptoeing about for a bit, trying to avoid Plaz. But a great artist, nevertheless. He was his colour schemes were amazing.
Plaz was a proper legend. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that London Giantz, you know, I mean, when because it was basically South East Vandals teamed up with Creative Arts. So you know, you had like Zone 1, Form, Jewski, Shame 181, Fresh Mess, Cast. I mean, they was a big crew, and I mean, they was incredible, weren't they? I mean, did you ever check that piece they done in Dulwich called "For Many Girls Controlling the City"?
Yeah. It was there for years, wasn't it? It was amazing how long it was there, and how they got away with it. I mean, did they get permission for that?
Yeah. No, I think they did.
Yeah, it was fantastic because that was a battle piece against Hellraisers, wasn't it? Against
Prime and Hellraisers, yeah. Because I think that wall was already painted once, and then I think Jap 302 come along. He's like, no. I think this is a story, and he said this isn't good enough. We got to go back and do something, you know, which is going to blow people's minds. And they come back, Shame 181 and Jap 302, and they done that, you know, Controlling the City. And there was one character either end, wasn't it? And it was like, it was because that come out, it was early 86.
Yeah.
And when I see that, it only just been done, I was like, wow, this piece is incredible.
Yeah, those characters are just etched in my mind. The pose.
Yeah. With the name belts.
That's it. Yeah. It's just it's iconic, really. I mean, their hand styles as well. The London Giantz. Wow. I mean, you had Flyboy, who became Harm. And wow, Flyboy was an incredible tag, but Harm was just the next level. And as for Form was a lovely guy, Aubrey. I remember him. He was only a small fella and really long hair.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
not with us. God rest his soul.
R.I.P. to.
he dominated the 63 buses. I remember there was a Form 63 on every single back window of a 63 bus. That was his bus. And yeah, great stuff.
They had incredible hand styles, and who else's hand styles were you rating back then as well? Back in the kind of the 85, 86 era.
Oh, Crash 151. That is the first. That's the first one that comes to mind. There was nothing like it. I mean, his down rock was just as fluent as just like it was just on point, and it was just had such a perfect balance to it. I mean, I'm still looking for a Crash tag now because it still eludes me. I'd love to just have one, just have a really. It was just I used to just pour over that tag. That was just absolutely bang on. And Scan One as well. Scan One, who was, I might be biased, but he was part of 7up. But his hand style was just, it was so clean. It was just such a natural. And I suppose with a hand style as well, it has to have a certain pace in it. With most. And yeah, it's just it had the lot. But Crash was just like, I think the best tag I've ever seen, to be honest.
And a lot of South East London, they was kind of hammering that kind of chiseled style look as well on the tags, with the little kind of above, especially people like Cash and that, when they had that little kind of squiggle above the H, or there was like little key thing that stand out.
Oh yeah, do you remember a tag Heavens?
Nah.
There's an artist called Heavens, and there was more swishes and than the letters. It was really elaborate. It looked like like on a pound note, on a 50 pound note.
Yeah. Loads of
it was unbelievable, but really well controlled, and great stuff. Love it.
And in terms of artists, I mean, there was some incredible crews back then. Obviously, the Supreme Team, and then London Giantz. You also had like Non-Stop Art. You also had the Chrome Angels. I mean, they that kind of 86, 87 era. They was kind of pushing. They was pushing it to another kind of sphere. They was coming up with some amazing work.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the first time I actually really saw a proper piece in full buntlack was I went down Covent Garden for the first time. I'll never forget. And I think it said Shock Shack, and it was just by the Chrome Angels, and that was it. When it was just one of those moments where it changed your life. It actually literally did. It was just like so inspired by it. It was just absolutely mind blowing, and everything else they did from then on was just it's all history, isn't it? It's just incredible.
Oh, without that. And also Tuff Artz as well. I mean, Tuff Artz were an amazing crew.
Yeah, Tuff Artz. We were like, 7up was sort of like the younger Tuff Artz. We would sort of we'd just sort of be following them wherever they went, sort of thing, and hoping they'd drop a can of buntlack. And
they're like leftovers, because you couldn't get hold of any buntlack because they'd racked it all.
Exactly. We did find a little shop once. I'll never forget it. Called Michael Putman. It was down in Clapham Junction, and it was just a private, like a little sort of independent shop. And I remember there was about 8 of us. We didn't shoplift. We actually just steamed this shop. The bloke behind the counter was like, "Can you stop doing that, please? Can you stop doing that?" I mean, it's so good. It must have scared the life out of him, but we absolutely cleared every bit of buntlack. We was just surprised we got our hands on some after Tuff Artz, to be honest. But yeah, Tuff Artz were incredible. Drome 2, Donovan, he was my hero. He was just like, he was fantastic, incredible. And he really did inspire me massively. I remember before I joined 7up, he said, "Let me have a look at your piece book." And I was just like, oh no, Drome 2's going to look at my piece book. I was nervous, He was like, what's he going to say? I'm like, what is he going to do? He's going to ruin me. And he said, you're really good, He said, why don't you join 7up? They need someone like you. And it was just like one of the biggest compliments I've ever had in my life. Even to today, it's like, you just don't, I'll never forget that. And big up Drome 2. He's absolutely
R.I.P. to Drome. So who was in 7up? Who was in the 7up crew? How did it form, and what was the reason behind the name? Was it behind the drink, the 7up drink, or?
Yeah, well, there was 7 of us and they were up, and then that sort of went on to about 15 of us, I think. And I ended up going into Light Years Ahead with a different crew, and they ended up becoming Controlling Artz, I think it was. But yeah, there was me, Mad 2, Scam 1, Deface, the original Deface. Yeah, dare I say it. Who else was there? There was Scam 1, there was Sonic, there was Chromo, there was, who was Donovan, Drone 2's cousin, Nicholas, who was Caution. Yeah, there was a good few of us. And then, we ended up just not being able to call ourselves 7-Up anymore because sprays came along and this, we ended up just being just a small army, really. And we must have terrified shopkeepers. We were absolutely ruthless. Great times.
Different times.
Oh God, yeah.
And like in Southeast London, because we didn't kind of have that kind of tube network. The buses were like our playground or our like canvas. Can you kind of tell me about the importance of the Southeast or the South London bus scene?
Well, I suppose the buses was where most graph artists started before they went on trains and stuff. I mean, I didn't progress to trains. I mean, I hit a few insides of trains and whatnot, but in terms of doing what the likes of Ray and Robbo and so on, they're absolute kings.
Next level, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's big boy graph. I mean, you start on the buses and so on and so forth, but at the same time, I still don't think it's the amount of tagging on buses, how prolific it was. I don't think it's even to this day been as documented as I'd like it to be, because there were times you'd get on a bus and you couldn't even look out the window. You couldn't see out of it. It was ink. The whole the back window, both windows alongside it. And I love the respect what people would give, what other writers would give to each other as well. You'd have tag, and then you'd have tag just inside, like the spaces. There was a lot of respect given. But yeah, it was just unbelievable. It's just I bet they didn't know what hit them. Honestly, it was just.
And the bus would be like stinking of like ink and like alcohol, and I mean, it was like. You get on that, and like the seats were like covered, or they was ripped up, or like it was just everywhere you looked there was like tags everywhere, innit? All over the place.
And half the time, like people were using their own homemade markers and God knows what else. See a leaking ink all over the place, and it's just just absolute carnage. I remember I used to pour like one colour into my postmark, and then you to put another colour in. I get like a two-tone thing going on.
I was going to say that, because when I used to see your tag around the southeast, I always noticed the black and the red two-tone tag.
Yeah, I used to love doing that. Right, it's great stuff.
And what did you use? What was your kind of favourite weapon of choice? Did you love like the Edding 850s, the Pentels, the torch pens?
850 is great, but you can't beat the italic swish of like a poster marker. I remember getting my first poster marker. It was like a lightsaber.
Oh yeah, I know. It was massive when it was like that. It had a big kind of chisel, like big like it looked like about 2 or 3 inches thick, didn't it? With a tiny little, and you get that mad chisel tag from it. Yeah. You had to hold on to them for your life, because there were kids wanting to rob you left, right, and centre for your poster markers. So you had to be careful. But yeah, they were like, as I say, so creative. Such a creative time, considering the backdrop. Considering what was going on in this country, it was pretty grim, but yeah, it's amazing. Such a grim time, such a beautiful, creative. I mean, this whole thing, it was created by kids, wasn't it? 100%, without a doubt.
Have been created by kids, and look at it now. It's in galleries selling for what? It's incredible, incredible. I'm just so glad I've been a part of it, and I've always hoped that my kids would have something they were so passionate about at such an age. My boy's a beatboxer, and he's mad. So that hip hop thing is continuing onwards, and it's a great time.
And Divine, listen, man, we got to talk about the locations. Some of them special locations back then. I mean, you know, I know, like obviously the Old Kent Road. Warehouse. I think it used to be a post office, I think, but it was a rundown then it turned into this kind of like warehouse where people would go to put their pieces and tags. You had Drax was tagging up in there. You had a wicked cash piece in there. I mean, even yourself, you had a piece in there. I mean, it was a wicked little spot, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was amazing little spot. That is where I think it's where B&Q is now. At the time, yeah, it was fantastic. Because it was really secluded, and I did some of my best graff back there. There was some great work. I remember Remy Ruff used to paint a lot there as well. But yeah, there was that place. There was you had the Bricklayers Arms, huge building. That was on Old Kent Road as well. It was there for years. It was so sad. I remember driving past there, like 10, 15 years later or something. And it was just nothing but multicolored rubble. I just see all bricks, like, all painted, all different cut, and it was just like, oh man, like it's just, yeah.
It was like soulless.
Yeah. But I suppose back then you had places like that where you could, piece and you can do your thing. I mean, the speed in which London's built nowadays, it's difficult to find any waste space, any waste, those kind of place to do your thing. So, but yeah, we made the most of it. That's for sure. Because
Divine, you're totally right. Because back in the day, there was a lot of kind of places like abandoned buildings. There was a lot of wasteland where London wasn't developed. So there was a lot of wasteland, a lot of old buildings. Did you ever go into that place on 9 Elms Lane? It was called 9 Elms Cold Stores. It was like a massive building on the corner there. And we used to go in there I think it was about 1987 and do some tags and a bit of graff. But that place was huge.
Yeah. It's just like the Bricklayers Arms. It was like a Royal Mail building, and it was enormous. It was like the size of it was 2 floors. It was like literally the size of 2 football pitches. It was absolutely huge. With loads of walls in it. I remember sitting there and watching Cease from Tuff Artz do a piece, and I was just I've loved his style, and there's some great work up there, Drone 2 and so on, and the Tuff Artz boys,
and obviously like the West Way was popping off. I mean, some incredible work down the West Way, the Latimer Road ran that way, and I mean London had all its little spots. I mean, even in Woolwich, did you ever go down to Woolwich Hall of Fame?
No, but I've heard all about it. I've seen a lot of work from there. I was always aware of it, but I never got down there.
That's a wicked spot. You had Tuff Artz down there, London Giantz, Jump 2, which is Chris, Mo 1, Aztec. There's some wicked little spot that was. When did you start getting into the graff? Was it like the early 80s?
Yeah, I mean, I did my first piece of 85, in 1985. I remember I didn't know anything about mulch or anything like that. So I've got this brick wall, a proper brick wall. And I think I used about 15 cans because the paint gets of car paint to do a piece about probably about that big. But it was there for about 15, 20 years. It was there for so long. But yeah, that's when I first started piecing. I loved the bombing and so on, and the rack. But it was really the piecing I wanted to that was what I loved doing. Yeah.
Did you get any influences from any of the New York writers? And obviously like Subway Art, Star Wars.
Yeah, Duster was the one for me.
You love Duster style.
Yeah, Duster. When he did that, what did he do? A rooftop. He did a rooftop, and I think it was for a jelly bean.
Jelly bean. That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
that was incredible.
I've got it up there. My girlfriend got it printed for us and got it framed up here. I've got to show you.
I see. Incredible. Was it called What's Up Ski or something like that? Was it What's Up Ski?
That it's just like a graff alphabet soup. It's just unbelievable.
I think didn't Scene have something to do with that as well?
He might. I could see a United Artist there, and it does look a bit Scene, so I won't be surprised.
Yeah, that's a wicked cover. Yeah, that inspired quite a few people, that cover.
Yeah, I used to go into WH Smith's, and if I wasn't robbing pens from there, I'd be looking for that album just to literally
stare at it. Yeah, like in awe of it.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah. But when Subway Art come along, that was it. They changed everything, didn't it, for everyone? And it was just artists like that, which was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. You into your fashion as well? Was you like rocking the old, the name belts and the Kangol and all that sort of stuff?
I never got a belt. But my mate
Wow.
DeFace, he brought me back a triple goose from the States.
Who did DeFace?
Yeah, and it was like, this was when Yo Bum Rush the Show was out. You know, Public Enemy was just bang. They were just everywhere. And I had this. I wish I still had it, man. Honestly, it was bottle green, and it wasn't one of those diagonal stitched ones. It was a proper horizontal one, and it was just a triple goose. I was scared to wear it, Steve. There was
too much. You're going to get robbed. Yeah,
I won't wear it down Covents for a start.
No.
You know, like, it was just. I mean, and it would have been so, like, you know, I'd have been so sweet if I could, but no, I was tiptoeing about with that. That was just like, yeah. And I'd have remember the old C17 jeans with the
with the patches on. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I never got around to having a name belt. One day is.
Oh, you're gonna have to do it. You got to do it. You got to rock the old name belt. And was there any kind of like meeting places you'd go? Was there any kind of like, you know, like a writer's bench you'd go to, or like, you know, where you could share war stories and show off your black books?
Well, there's obviously Covent Garden, and that's where everyone got together, and it breaks your heart walking through there today, really, because
soulless.
And it's such a I look at people walking past and I think, you really don't realise this beautiful history. You know, so many cool cats have been through here, sat here, and you know, it's just obviously there's Covent Gardens, and we used to knock about around Elephant and Castle as well. We used to get together there with Tuff Artz if we were lucky enough to sort of bump into them, and but that was but Covents was the place to be. That's when someone started, when people started, other writers started asking for me to sign their piece book in Covent Garden. That's when I thought, wow, I'm onto something here, you know.
Yeah, I can't be bad.
I was like, what's going on here? I'm famous, you know, like, that's a wicked boost. I used to love that sort of thing.
And did you see, you must have seen loads of writers up there.
Oh yeah, like it's amazing. Like, I was quite a quiet kid, really, to be honest. And I'd sit there and observe, and like I'd see the Chockies and the We Rock Hards, all those guys, and like you had wearing the Kangos, and they're proper blinging and they're proper doing the thing. And I was met some amazing characters. I met Remy Ruff there as well once. That was quite funny. We was just about to have a battle, and I remember Remy Ruff come over to me. He said, "You ready for a battle, Divine?" And I was sort of, it's like, right, gunslinger style. I was born ready, or something like that. And the battle never happened, but I still talk to him occasionally now. I bumped into him in Peckham. I went, Remy? It's like, whoa, it's great.
What do you mean, Divine? Like a battle? What, in terms of what? Graff battle or b-boying?
Yeah, there was a Graff battle where it was 7 Up was having some sort of disagreement with, I forget what crew Rem was in. But there was some sort of disagreement, and then they started saying, well, Divine's better than you at characters. And it's like, here we go. Because Rem was amazing at characters. He was just serious. He was right up there. And so that's when Rem approached me, like, as if like, well, you're their character, man. Yeah, you want to, let's go for it. You know, that kind of thing.
Did you get into that kind of clubbing thing then? I mean, obviously that's a silly question. I mean, you must have got right into it.
Yeah, very much so. Too much.
Where was you going? Where's the first clubs you was going to?
First club was one in Brixton called the Dome Bar. Tiny little place, tiny little gaff, and then sort of progressed on to Shaftesbury's and was it Sin at the Astoria and the Downham Tavern up near Bromley. All over. I was just mad for it. I just lived for the weekend back then.
Me too, mate. Me too. Was you going? What era was that? What, like 88, 89?
Yeah. When all the around that time.
Yeah, it was all a bit of a blur, but it was electric, wasn't it? It was
incredible.
Brilliant.
It was incredible. But yeah, it's amazing that when I hear about other graffiti artists, they were still doing graffiti and they were raving at the same time. Like, wow. Like,
yeah, because that's like me. I kind of started off in the obviously, into electro and hip hop back in 1982, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. But kind of around kind of 88, 89, 90, I was slowly getting into that kind of house music stuff, like heavy trance and techno.
Right, yeah. I mean, around about 88, there was still the likes of Big Daddy Kane and the Juice Crew still doing their. So, you know, I listen to, I mean, they're fantastic. I went to see them not too long ago, a couple of years back, and they blew my socks off. They're still just as good.
Was that a jazz cafe?
No, that was, I said it might have been a jazz cafe. Yeah, I think that was a jazz cafe.
Yeah.
That night, I met him for the first time there, funny enough. But yeah, I was still, I've always listened to hip hop. I mean, that's never, even when I was doing my rave thing, there's always room for a bit of Wu-Tang, you know. So,
yeah. No, without a doubt. And you know, what are you up to nowadays? I mean, look, I look at your work nowadays. I'll tell you what, it's on another level. I mean, some of so honestly, it's mind blowing. Look, like the 3D on it, and I mean, you know, it's you're doing incredible work now. It's absolutely, like, as I say, like next level.
Cheers, man. Nice one.
I mean, obviously, years of practice.
Well, I've always, I mean, I stopped painting because I was fed up of getting my collar felt. It was like, and I wasn't getting nicked for sort of getting caught shoplifting, nicking spray paint and so on. So I was never going to buy it because it didn't feel, that was never right for me. But this is a new world now. And like, you know, and it's okay to go into chrome and black and buy some paint. And once I realised that, then boom, I've got this new lease of life and I'm painting loads. And I've got plenty of time for it, you know.
And do you know what? Before we done this interview, we were saying it's so much more relaxed, because obviously back in the day it was kind of illegal, wasn't it? And you shouldn't have been doing it, even though a lot of it was on the industrial wasteland and all that. It still didn't seem like you could still probably get nicked for it. But now there's like spots in London where you just walk in and just do it, and it's like the norm. There's no one looking over your shoulder. There's no dogs chasing you out or anything like that.
It's every man and his dog is bringing a couple of cans along, aren't they? And then doing their thing. But yeah, come along with that comes, like, you know, like some people don't really get it as well. Like I could be painting. I mean, I've been doing a piece at Lake Street, and someone's come along and was just about to spray paint on the piece. And like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And like, I sort of understand. Like, let me finish it and take my photos. You know, yeah. I mean, if some that did something like that to the likes of Scarf, for instance, then, you know, he would do his nut. You know, like, he wouldn't have it.
But you know why? Because we're from that era where you don't do that. You don't go over someone's work. But
that's it. I mean, it's funny.
You know, it's all changed now.
It's funny when I paint with Scarf, and like, I sort of accept that, right, I do my piece, do my thing, take my photographs, exist on Instagram, and I don't expect it to be there 5 minutes later. But like, Scarf is like, nah. If someone goes over that after a day, they're taking the mick, and he really does get annoyed. That's Scarf, and it's an old school mentality, which I appreciate. But yeah, it's interesting how the whole thing's just, I'm like 50 now, and I can get them a little bag of paint and go and do my thing. And but yeah, I do like to, if I'm going to do a piece, I do like to put a lot of time into it. I mean, call me a triad or call me what you will, but I mean, I was up till 2 o'clock this morning just sketching away and trying to get certain letter balances right and stuff like that. And yeah, I just that's how I work. I enjoy just putting as much as I can into it.
Are you kind of like you could say like a little bit OCD with it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see me. Everyone's pulling their cans out and their whatever. I'm pulling out a protractor and tape measure. Do it level. And
that's so funny.
Staff constantly takes the mick out of me. Here he comes with his tape measure and his protractor.
You just got to get the levels right.
I've always wanted to do sort of thing. I always wanted to sort of like have time on a wall. And thank God for the likes of Solo One. I'll big him up again for keeping places like Stockwell Hall of Fame going. It's
100%. Big up to Solo One. Yeah, he's doing Solo's doing amazing work in Stockwell.
Oh, without a doubt. It's just, the walls are just it's just perfect.
I went down there for the opening when it reopened.
Right, yeah.
And what they've done to Stockwell now, you know, you've got the lovely rubber floor, you've got the lights, so you can paint at night time in there. It's become a really kind of like a community kind of hub for art. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Exactly, and it includes the kids. They can go and play basketball. And there's other events what can occur there as well.
You've got the basketball courts there.
Yeah, it's ideal, and it's all thanks to Solo One. Yeah, and yeah, amazing guy. Yeah, so I love the legal spots. They've given me a new lease of life.
Because I haven't done nothing. Last time I done any kind of like piece or whatever, it was probably around 1985.
Really?
So yeah. So I think if I was to go out and do something on a wall, I reckon I'd still be looking over my shoulder, making sure there was like no one about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's weird. I know what you mean. It's
but yeah, I mean, I got nicked for it, so that's why I gave it up, because back then my mum and dad were like tough. They knew what I was up to, but when I got nicked for it, it was like no, you got to stop this now.
Yeah, same here. I got caught a couple of times nicking spray paint. Yeah, I mean, fair play to the likes of Zombie and so on, who have just nothing stopped them. Relentless energy and and just passion for the game. It's incredible. It's incredible what they've they've just continued to do. No, rain or shine, no matter what, they've always continued to do. The likes of us were like, right, okay, got a collar felt a couple of times and like, yeah, that's us for a bit, but yeah, fair play to them boys. That's proper hardcore.
And this kind of graffiti thing, what I can see from the outside looking in, because obviously I don't do it anymore, but what I can tell is it's a very kind of close knit thing. There's a lot of passion involved, and a lot of writers know each other, and
exactly, it's a small world. The graph world.
It's a very very small world.
If you bite something, you will be found out. You will be found out. I've seen it time and time again. People called out on Instagram and whatever. It's not as territorial and as dangerous these days. Well, I don't know. Not the graph artists I knock about with, but no, it's a great group. It's a great group. I'm still meeting some lovely people. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And
what who you kind of rating nowadays as well, Divine? Who you loving to look at their work?
Dripper. Dripper.
Wow.
He always comes with he's just constantly so innovative. He's just changing you don't know what he's going to do next. And it's just really quite loose as well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's me with my protractor and my tape measure and all measured out, and and it's just so fluid. And obviously Tyzer's the king for me. I mean, the man just eats, sleeps, breathes. Tyzer is a beast. He's a beastie. I mean, I've seen Tyzer. I mean, I spoke to him one time, and I think he done like 3 or 4 pieces in one day. These are big productions. This ain't like a little kind of piece. This is like a big piece. Yeah, with a character on each end, sort of.
Yeah. I remember I was near to Christmas, like a couple of days before Christmas. It was freezing cold in Leek Street Tunnel. It was about -4, -5, and Tyzer's in there. Pair of shorts, like doing an amazing piece. Yeah, it's
incredible. It's incredible. I don't think he has a day off. When I don't find a Tyzer piece on my feed, I get a bit concerned. It's like, is he all right? Is he like, it's no more than a couple of days and he's back on it. He's and he's also an absolute gentleman.
Yeah. He's a top geezer.
Indeed.
And is there any other kind of like sort of big highlights from back in the day, Divine, or? I suppose it's hard to kind of think back in it because it's so long ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I did a piece. I remember I did a few characters, and everyone started calling me like, "It's amazing!" Like, you don't realise the impact you have on. I mean, when you, for instance, said that you'd heard of me and you've seen my stuff down there, like, well, really, you just don't know. You're just a kid doing your pieces, and you don't realise how much of an impact it has on people.
Well, that piece you done in the Old Kent Road warehouse. Of that mad character, he had like a flat top like hairstyle. He had a big like gun,
huge great gun,
gun going off. I mean, when I see that, I was like, "That's when you was in." Was it the Light Years Ahead crew?
Yeah, Light Years Ahead. Yeah. I mean, I must say, after I was in Light Years Ahead, I went with I was in a crew called New Dimensions. That was That was me, K Crush, and Calm 4. Now you got to. I'd love to get Calm on your show. Honestly, he doesn't do the internet. He does. He's not on Instagram or anything. But the amount of Graff, stuff he's got, piece books, he's got black books, just amazing work. I'd love to get it. I keep saying to him, please get on Instagram, please share what you've got. But yeah, I was with New Dimensions as well.
Well, listen, Divine, we can sort that out. Like, obviously, I drive the cab. I'll pick him up in the cab, and we can have an old school chinwag, chinwag in the back of the cab. He can take his books with him and show them to camera.
Why not?
But yeah, it's it was such amazing times back then, wasn't it? I mean, back then it was electric, wasn't it? I mean, especially like the bus scene and all that. It was so new and exciting.
Yeah, it was just a rush every time. I used to just go to school to literally meet up with my crew, and then we would just go and terrorise London and nick as much stuff. We was going out mainly for spray paint, but that sort of started going on to, that's when it started getting a bit naughty. And it was, but anyway, it was great. Just nicking all the spray paint and just going out and just painting the town red, so to speak.
Did you ever see the because when I started doing like tagging up the buses, we was tagging up LTS with our crew around South East, but we used to always see the bus boys. Do you remember the bus boys? Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I wasn't sure who was actually in that.
There was two guys that we met, two guys in the bus boys, but they was all over the buses, like early doors.
What was their tags?
No, they just used to tag up bus boys. That was it.
Oh, right. That was it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people used to think that 7up was one guy. For some reason, more than one person has said that. They thought 7up was one individual, but I didn't know that the bus boys was okay.
It was two. The ones we met was two guys, and we used to have a little kind of a little bit of a rivalry now and again who could put the most tags.
Really, right?
And also you had the custom boys. I mean, they was wicked. You had you had Strobe, Data, Ranks, PIC, and PIC were great as well.
PIC, that was everywhere, wasn't it?
Them two were getting up all over the place.
Remember Pest?
Pest, of course.
Pest, great. Those two were just everywhere. Everywhere I looked, there was Pest and Ray. The 10 foot now is the equivalent of that for me. Everywhere I look, I see 10 foot. I was in Berlin before lockdown last year. 10 foot. I went 10 foot. 10 foot's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere.
He's massively, especially over kind of over west above the bridges. It's like 10 foot, all over the shop.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's a true bomber in every sense of the word. I tip my hat to him. He's just so up. It's amazing. And
Kozza was also Kozza up a lot.
Yeah, Kozza's still at it. Yeah.
Oka. I mean, Oka's all over the shop.
Yeah, Oka's doing some exhibitions and stuff as well, isn't he? He's been selling some canvases, I hear. I know he was before lockdown, but yeah, Oka's all over the place. Oka's been smashing all around Camberwell and whatever over the past. I love his throw up as well. As great stuff. But
there were some incredible tags back then. I remember like Ranks, False, Regret, Mid, Dev 666. I mean, I love the Dev 666 tag.
Well, Dev 66, that was the reason why I changed my tag. I used to be called the Devastator.
Did you?
I used to be called the Devastator, and and I shortened it to Devs.
Right.
And, anyway, Hellraisers. Devs used to hang around with Hellraisers.
That's right. Yeah.
A Crime used to go to my school, and when he got wind of that, he said to me, "No, you can't be doing that." I was like, "What?" He goes, "No, that's my friend Dev 666. I mean, that closest at any other point." That's when I switched to Divine. So that was Crime was the reason why I became Divine. But yeah, it's funny on one of your interviews. I think your interview with Score. Yeah. Touched on the subject, and it was really interesting. That there was at one point there was so many D tags. There was
That's right.
D face, D this, there was D eyes, and I'll just end up sticking with the D instead of Devastator. I'll just end up being Divine. So
and there was a Demise, and there was loads. Yeah, because you had the artistic vandals as well. Did you ever see the artistic vandals up?
No.
So it's like Razor, Demise, Vans.
Right, yeah, Vans, cool. So I remember you had the sort of swish at the end.
Yeah, with the mad Z on the end.
That's it. Yeah, I remember Vans. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be interviewing Vans pretty soon, so that'd be a good bit of kind of a history from them kind of Bromley, kind of Orpington sides.
Okay, that's where they're from, right? Okay, right, you remember that, amazing. I had to. I mean, I couldn't. How long could I get away with the Devastator though? I couldn't.
You would have got nabbed. You would have got nabbed. It would have taken you like about 2-3 minutes to do one tag.
I did it on my headmaster's door, funny enough, and I managed to get away with it in a big black poster marker right across the headmaster's door.
That's so funny. Right, the longest tag I see was in Lewisham, and it said extremely fresh. And that was up all over Lewisham. Yeah, that would have been about 86. Extremely fresh.
Yeah, I bought a book of the London hand styles.
Yeah.
And one of the last tags I put, I'm actually in it, and I couldn't believe it. I opened it up, and there I am on the sort of like one of the first pages on a shutter or something. And I think that's when I ran that time. When was that? But that's when I started switching just to do a DVINE. And I like to keep hold of that because it's really quite 80s, really. It's that sort of, and I don't mind that at all because that's the era I'm from. So I'm going to keep hold of that, even today, So.
Well, it was, DVINE, it was a magical era back then. And, people that didn't live through that kind of early 80s, mid 80s kind of era, it's hard to explain, isn't it, about what it was like in London in general, and also, for graffiti and, the wall writing. But it was a totally different kind of era.
Oh yeah, I mean, in every sort of area, music, art, fashion, it was an explosion, wasn't it? Really, the 80s. It was incredible. And the way the music evolved as well, going from like obviously you had your punk and. You knew romantic stuff, and then your electro, your hip hop. Then coming in was obviously the house music and drum and bass, trip hop, techno, trance, and it was all kind of feeding off each other. It was just an incredible time for everything, wasn't it? Fashion. Yeah, and it's no surprise that with such a bleak background, what was going on in the world, there's no surprise that hip hop flourished as it did. I mean, hip hop was all about taking something and making something of it, like you'd get your mum's 2 records and just make your own music out of it, get a bit of lino, make your own dance floor, get some spray cans and make your own art, your own gallery. And it was all about DIY, that DIY mentality. And I think punk sort of had something to do with that as well, because they were very much on that sort of vibe. So it's interesting how I love that DIY mentality, and long may it continue.
100%.
But yeah, as I said earlier, I'm optimistic. I think there's going to be a massive creative explosion after all this, and and I'll be right there and enjoying every minute of it. So.
I think so as well, Divine. I think we're kind of raring to go, ready to get out there and ready to get lively.
Yes, indeed, and definitely.
But listen, my man, it's been an absolute honour chatting to you. Is there kind of like, a few kind of little shout outs you want to give, or?
My boy Calm 4, he probably won't see this. I'll show him it because he doesn't do the internet. He's proper old school, Calm. Obviously Scarf, I've looked up to him for years. Still got a big respect for the guy. We get on like an ass on fire, us two. Lovely fella. Who else? Wow. Blimey, you put me on the spot there.
Anybody that kind of knows you and respects you, and
my son, my son Zen BTBX.
Check him out on the beatbox.
What an inspiration the boy is. He's a breath of fresh air. So
I'm going to check him out and subscribe to his Instagram.
Nice one. You do that, and I'll be doing a piece for him tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah. And how can people get hold of you? What's your Instagram account?
Oh, mine. Oh, Steve Divine.
Just Steve Divine.
Yeah,
so Steve and then DVINE.
That's the one. Yeah. Check me out. I mean, if you want any, got any commissions for us or whatever, or you just got a nice fresh wall you want me to paint, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
So anyone watching this, and check out Steve's Instagram channel. And listen, anybody also watching this, please share this interview and subscribe to this channel, because I've interviewed, Scheme from TMT, Score, T-Kid, Snake One, Mike 171, Scam, Kilo Scarf, and many more. And listen, Divine, I hope you've enjoyed this as well.
I have. I mean, to be in there with that list of characters, wow, it's an honor, honestly.
Now listen, listen, mate, you're an important part of this, this graffiti scene, a very important cog. Everybody was kind of making their mark on the walls, and you was one of them. So big up to yourself and the 7 Up crew.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Steve. Nice one. It's really been a pleasure. Really appreciate it. Honoured, honestly. Nice one.
That's a real honour, my man. And listen, as we say in the old cab game, be lucky.
Take care, Steve. Good luck, mate.
Peace, my man.